Hello everyone, my name is Nathalie.
And I'm Jasmin.
For our course, Universal Design for Learning and Barrier-Free Accessible Course Content, we recorded this podcast. The aim of this podcast is to reflect on what we learned. Jasmin, do you want to tell us something about the principles of UDL?
Yes, of course. For those who don't know, UDL stands for Universal Design for Learning, and it applies three principles. The principles are engagement, representation, and action and expression. When it comes to engagement, the teachers are supposed to provide different contents according to the different interests of the students. When it comes to representation, the teachers provide information in more than one format and in a variety of ways. Action and expression is about allowing the students multiple ways to interact with the content and to show what they've learned.
Okay, thank you, Jasmin. So, do you want to tell our listeners what you learned during this course?
Yes, of course. So at first I have to admit that I was overwhelmed. All this new information and UDL changes the view on how a lesson is created. And I think as a student teacher, it is hard to create a lesson at all. And then you also have to think about the principles of UDL. But I already thought and I already think that I still think that the goal sounds good, but back then it felt like hard to achieve this goal of including UDL in the classroom. But the more I did with it, the more I realized that already minor changes, like changing the task a little, can make a huge difference for the learning success of the students. And you, Natalie, what do you think about it?
So, first of all, I can totally agree on what you said. I think it's so hard to integrate UDL in a lesson, which you still have to design from the bottom, so to speak. And what I also really liked about this course was this book, um, which in or which included videos of the content you can read about or you read about. That was something I personally liked because yeah, it was more interactive and you also had the chance to not just read the text but also listen to what they say and have a media input. And that's what I really liked. And also I was fascinated about what or which tools you can use or which tools also exist or even exist, um, yeah, to make your lesson more UDL like.
Yes, I think that's true for those of you who don't know which book Natalie means. It's the book by Cast, UDL Theory and Practice, and it's an ebook, and you can read or you can watch videos about the topic, and you still get the same information. And I think for students, so we're both studying German and English, we really have to
Yes.
read a lot. And I think it was nice to just watch videos about it because the input was kind of different. That was really good. But I also have to say that I was very shocked when I first read or watched the videos because we could see really huge computers, and the principle of UDL was founded, but or moreover, CAST was founded in 1984, and they were already talking about the technology they're using, and that is great that we can now use computers to help the students. And then I thought, okay, I'm working at a school right now and it's 2022, and most of the schools don't even have the possibility to use the technology or provide students with the technology they need to use that make their life easier. I think that's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
sad, and oh, it kind of disappointed me.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, totally. I also think that with this course, it became so much more present to us that schools are lacking in technology, so that they have to improve their technology systems or yeah, because when you don't have the technology, it's sometimes hard to apply UDL. and that's sad, as you already said.
Yes, that's true. So in my classroom, there's only an overhead projector, and that's the only technology that exists there. And I think that's sad because nowadays we do have the technology to use UDL. And for example, if we have a student that has challenges with seeing or hearing, they could use it. They could just use an iPad or something like that that would make their life so much easier, but it doesn't exist. And I think
Yeah,
that's
right.
so sad. Is a little bit
Yeah.
more in German because of the pandemic. Yeah, there are some learning lags, so to say. And I work at that school and I do have small classes. And I try to include UDL. And I wanted to do a diary entry with them. Um, and I said, okay, you can create a diary entry. And I suggested that they can do an audio, they could do a video, or they could also just write it down.
Mm-hmm.
And one student was thinking about doing an audio, but he was like back in there within 5 minutes and he said, yes, I have 30 seconds. And I said, yes, okay, that's like not enough because you need to speak a little bit more. And then he said, okay, then I'm just going to write
Writing
it
it down.
because,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because or I think all of the class wasn't familiar with doing something else than writing. And then they just stuck to what they know or what they know.
Yeah, yeah, right. I also think that it's not too effectively included in the classrooms. So it's often, okay, open your books, read this page, then do the exercises, but it's not like, okay, let's watch a film clip and then you analyze the characters, for example. So I noticed that they make this in Oberstufe, like in when you write your Abitur, um, but not in the middle or the lowest classes. So they just do it with advanced speakers. And yeah, that's what's also maybe a problem there, that they don't yeah, create so much awareness for this for students in a younger age, maybe.
Yes, I feel like the lessons are always the same. The students get the needed input by, for example, just writing on the wall or like, okay, this is the rule, and then we write something down.
Yeah.
And okay, I think it's basically the same in all of the subject, but especially in German and English, that's because I have my only knowledge.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Me
And
too.
now write down this and that. And I wanted not to do this because a diary entry can be created in many different ways.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can
Correct.
record it in different ways, but you can also write it down. So maybe some students don't like their voice or they don't like it when they see a video of them. So they can just write it down, but they don't even know that there are other possibilities. And I think that's
Yeah.
what makes it difficult. So if you want to include UDL in your classroom, you have to teach the students other ways to learn or
Yeah.
other ways to create their content and to express themselves.
Yeah.
And
Right. I also think in a very early stage of learning, that's what's so important here. Not just when they're like 16, 17. So maybe it would be better to start like 11, 12, something like this.
yes, I
Yeah.
think the earlier the better. Um, and I also only have my students once a week, and and for 1 hour, so it's very hard to include other principles. So of course,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, I wanted to say that I can show them a video or something like that, but I can't. So I try to include UDL
Oh
that way, but
no.
that's also like difficult because I only have them in 1 hour or 1 hour per week. So it's difficult. And I also think it's difficult or more difficult to include it later in their learning career, as you said, because then they have to be prepared for their graduation. And in their
Yeah.
graduation or for their exams at the end of their school career, they're not allowed to create something. They are not allowed to
Yeah.
create a podcast. They're not allowed to create a video.
Yeah.
They have to
They don't
write it
have
down.
time for, yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think it is a good way to kind of channel your ideas and express them differently, but they also have to learn it in like a conservative way.
I can agree with you on that totally. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, thank you for listening to our reflection. It would be great
Yeah.
if you could share your thoughts on UDL with us, or if you already include UDL in your classroom, how is it working? And yeah, it would be nice to hear from you.
Yeah. And if you want, you can also send us some material you already have, maybe, so that we can also work with it, but you don't
You can
have
also
to.
check
It's,
out our lesson. We also created
yeah.
a UDL lesson.
Yeah.
It would be great if
Yeah.
you check that out.
So, thank you very much for listening and have a nice day. Bye
Bye.
bye.